As rural Americans, we have a unique understanding of and connection to the land. Whether we ranch, farm, log, or simply recreate, what we do today determines our tomorrow. As stewards of the land, it's our duty to ensure that our children and grandchildren can enjoy the outdoors in a similar manner that was afforded us. Join the Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation and ensure the future of elk, other wildlife, their habitat, and our hunting heritage. Visit rmef.org today.
Thanks once again to our friends at Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation for their continued support of Everything According to Flint, and welcome to episode number 63 of our podcast, as I bring a guest that I still call a kid because I've known him since he was a kid, and he has an interesting perspective of the Western sports world, first traveling with his dad, who was a specialty act and rodeo clown, then as a contestant himself, a trick roper, now not just a rodeo announcer, but an influential figure in bringing the Western way of life to the fans. As a broadcaster and in arena in every way, excited to have a great conversation with my friend Anthony Lucia. We couldn't do it without the support of people like Pendleton Whiskey and Montana Silversmiths. Welcome everybody to episode number 63, of course, according to Flint, and happy to welcome episode 63, not the monkey episode, Anthony Lucia himself, coming to us as we record this podcast from beautiful San Antonio, Texas, the San Antonio Stock Show and Rodeo. Yeah, nice down there.
Yeah.
Big deal. Big deal down there.
Yeah, it's a big deal. They get a 1.4 million people. I read a stat the other day that Fort Worth Stock Show and Rodeo, San Antonio and Rodeo, all are ranked higher than the Super Bowl for the amount of economic impact that they have on their cities. And so that's pretty cool to see that rodeos and stock shows are able to do that. Granted, it's over a 3-week period and the Super Bowl is one day, but that's not the point.
The Super Bowl is not. There's nothing one day about the Super Bowl. So
okay, well, good. Well, then it makes me feel better about that stat.
As we do this, because people will watch it later, but we're coming off of the Super Bowl.
Yes.
Are you one? I predict, I just had a memory on the Super Bowl on Facebook of a post I did from like last year or the year before that said, hey, everybody complain about the halftime show now before it happens. So we just get it out of the way. Every year people post pictures of George Strait.
Right.
Do you worry about that? We were just talking. I don't worry about it. Like, just enjoy the production, right?
That's the same. I don't know. I feel like people in this, and I'm gonna sound like you. All these people that have nothing better to do than to complain about something on Facebook. Facebook and phones have given us all immediately that we feel something, think something, most of the times negative, not anything good. People are going to their phones. And the halftime show, it's just like, turn it off. I had this big deal the other day, or at Fort Worth, somebody said I ruined the Cowboy Channel because Fort Worth Stock Show and Rodeo hired me to do the pre-show and do different stuff at the Fort Worth Stock Show and Rodeo. And they literally posted on the Cowboy Channel Facebook that I ruined the Cowboy Channel.
You single-handedly.
And so all I wrote was #mute me. That's all I wrote.
That's it.
Back to this person. And then it proceeded to about 600 comments of people that I guess do enjoy me. and they went to bat for me. And this poor sucker, I've literally wanted to check on him because these people were not nice in defending me. But that wasn't my point. My point is, if you don't like something, change the channel, mute
Yeah.
it. Who cares? And especially with our friend group, everybody. Well, Chris Stapleton should have done the halftime show. George Strait. Okay, cool.
Yeah, great.
Nice.
Hey,
Not everybody thinks the way that we do.
What you did to that guy or gal, whoever it was that said you ruined the Cowboy Channel. I call it unleashing the dogs. Like I will comment on one of those just so everybody sees it and then go.
Yeah.
But oh, by the way, there's that one guy that you're not even in his top 10. That was on mine.
Oh, yeah.
Because they can't help it. What a miserable. This is it. By the way, this was not on the card to talk to, but I think it's a good topic because it's a necessary evil in what we do.
Yeah.
We talked about off the air, my friend Clint Atkins, who announces, and he's like, boys, my life's so much better. You just keep looking at that social media. I said, well, I kind of do it because we do live shows and we need to take the temperature, read the room about what to address.
Yeah.
But it's for people in a miserable existence to just automatically go that direction. And you defended another one of my colleagues. And then the guy says, well, you ain't in my top 10. And was it Brad Narducci said, you suck, man. Hey, Anthony, you're terrible.
I don't know, but I remember that now because it was about Matt. And I've tried to make a thing where I don't get on Facebook late at night especially if I've had a drink or two or a couple beers where, because like during the day, like I see it and I'm just like, that's stupid. And I don't even, it's like, it's leaves blowing. It doesn't matter. But then at night, whenever I, maybe a bit buzzed or something like that. And then I'm not an alcoholic, people. Like I don't drink every night, but anyways, whatever.
I do.
And I'll look at it and I'm just like, and it just it infuriates me because people are so mean and so rude and their opinion means nothing. And if they were in front of me, they would never dream of saying something like that. That's the biggest thing that pisses me off. I don't know if I can say that on here.
You can say pissed, yeah.
They're
you can say pissed off. You just can't say shit. Okay. No,
copy. But like they would never come up to you and say, you're not my top 10 of announcers. I don't even like you. They would never do that in real life, ever.
Yeah. I agree. You and I, what you're saying is what I have, the guys here know.
Yeah.
I say the same thing. And that's what people are like, why do you let it bother you? It doesn't so much bother me what they say to me. It's more that they're so nutless,
right.
So here's what I'm going to do. When I see you on Instagram or Facebook, I'm just going to type, you look really nice today, Anthony. Just something, who says that?
And I will text you and say, are you feeling okay? Is something bad happening?
Your beard looks like
code word.
No, but you're going to know. You're going to know.
I am going to know.
What, okay. So Fort Worth and San Antonio, is your role in San Antonio the same as it was in Fort Worth? If so, what is that role?
Yeah. So the Fort Worth Stock Show and Rodeo hired me to enhance their Cowboy Channel pregame show and to enhance their broadcast, basically, where we're still taking the in-house announcers, but Amy Wilson and I did all the ins and the outs from the breaks. And then San Antonio, actually, this was my third year here. So 3 years ago, San Antonio hired me to create a watch party for them. And then last year, they started utilizing me inside of the AT&T Center, doing interviews before the rodeo. And then I get to introduce, I get everybody hyped up and introduce the Palomino Patrol, or last night it was the Escaramuzas. And so I do that. And then I go over to watch party, and this year's been phenomenal. We call it Bud Light Live, and it's just this interactive. They've got beautiful screens and line array sound systems, and they play the rodeo on, and then we give away stuff, and there's VIP suites in there, and it's just a different kind of experience for the fan. And then they have their own when the concerts go on inside of AT&T Center, then we have our own entertainers that I introduce them and then they play and dancing, and it's just fun.
So really, it's a venue outside the main venue, a
Yeah,
little
yeah,
like little like the NFR. It's
yeah.
I guess I didn't know that, and when I think of things to enhance the rodeo, things to make rodeo better, that's it. Stuff like that.
Yeah.
Give people another option where they can take it all in. They don't have to go and sit in there, but have fun. Man, that I like that. There's some possibility. I'm seeing a future. You need some help. You need some help down there?
Well, you know what's funny is yesterday, I'm sorry, not yesterday. When did we have rehearsals? Wednesday night. Your name got brought up out of nowhere by the bosses.
Just in general. Like, why can't you be more like Flint? Like,
no. That was it. Like, if Flint ever wants to come to San Antonio, you're out. Which my goal is obviously to be announcing this rodeo, and that's and the same thing with Fort Worth. Those are my goals, and these are opportunities. I've always had the mindset of however I can be a part of events that are my goals and work hard at those events, show people my personality, show them what I can do, show them my work ethic, then the opportunities will come. And so in all seriousness, but no, it's a great deal. And I was talking to the president of San Antonio Stock Show and Rodeo last night, David White, and I said, he goes, so many people were worried that this would take away from our audience at the AT&T Center. And he's like, I don't think so. And I go, I know it doesn't. What you're doing is you're creating fans. You're creating fans that have never been to the rodeo, have never seen a rodeo, that are walking by, going to the fair and the carnival and all the things like that and go and see the animals. And they're watching this rodeo, they're having fun. And then they go, next year, we're going to save up and we're going to go in there and watch the concert and everything. And they have a great group down here where they really think outside the box. And so it's really neat just to even be a part of it.
That's brilliant. I mean, I don't take that word lightly, but you're exactly right. Because then they go, holy crap, if it's this much fun in here, let's go in there. Now, there'll be those people that say, we watch that rodeo. We ain't paying all that money to go in there. We're going to watch it here. That's okay. You're a fan.
Yeah.
But whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever. I think
They're
great.
still buying $13 beers in Bud Light.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's a win-win.
Yeah. And I'm serious about, in the next, as I look ahead in my career, I would love to come in and watch that and walk around and just see all of the things and give input. And you're right, though, but you're right. And this is why I love your perspective on the Western sports world, whether it's PBR, not just rodeo, but just to be involved. I get people now say, do you still work the NFR? I said, I still work at the NFR because I am in some way an influence and a pivotal part of something.
Yep.
And I appreciate that you're not out to, I want to just announce that rodeo. Anyway, you can be a part of things. You have become recognizable because you're in all these different places, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I learned a long time ago, and I even learned this from you about you create a brand, and I'm my own business. I'm my own brand. And the more I can grow my brand and the more that I'm promoting my brand by not shoving in people's faces, but just doing what I do and being seen, you create like somebody said last night, they were joking. They said something about me being a celebrity. I said, I'm not a celebrity. I said, but a lot of people do know me. And that's good because like good or bad, I just talk smack on the people that were talking crap about me on Facebook, but on the same hand, they're watching. And so it's increasing my brand and my quote unquote celebrity. And that helps me pay my bills and get different jobs and be able to being diverse. And this is something you've always done. You can be serious guy. You can be funny guy. You can be interview guy. You can be host guy. And you can be an entertainer inside an arena. That is so important, I think, in order to be able to not just be put in a box of rodeo announcer, rodeo clown, team roper, blah, 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 blah. It's like What can you not do?
I agree. Uh, people have asked me, what are you going to do now? I'll figure it out. I mean,
Possibilities are endless.
I'll figure it out somehow. I don't know.
Yeah.
Those rodeos, we'll just use Fort Worth, San Antonio. I'll throw Denver in there, Houston a little bit. It is hard to describe to people the difference in going to Ellensburg, Washington for 4 days, woohoo, and going to a rodeo that's 30 performances in 15 days. The whole frame of mind is different. I did Denver those years, and you get to a point where you're almost just clocking in at the beginning of the day.
You got to be careful. Yeah.
Whole different approach, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Because if you're not careful, you will just get to clock in. And then obviously I don't know for me, if I don't stay excited, like when I'm on and behind the mic, like my presence and my animation is what helps me with what I do, whether I'm announcing or doing television or whatever it is. That's what helps me. And even like having to walk in front of 500-600 drunk people at the watch party, like if I'm not careful, I can get a little sour because it's like, oh great, I only have 6 Hui caps that I can give away. There's 500 people here. That means that 494 of them are going to be pissed off at me. And so it's a deal where you almost have to like talk yourself and say, I am pretty, I am smart, and by God, people like me.
People like me.
And then you go down and you do your job.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a different frame. It makes, so like the Americans coming up, I get done with this, have a week off, and then I go to the American. That's going to be so simple. It's like we do 2 performances and we're done.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's just incredible. But I don't know. I'm thankful because it's a different mindset. And especially doing what you did of having to be creative and funny for 2.5 hours, 2-3 times a day. It's like, holy cow. But how good did that make you?
Yeah. For one, I was young. I was legged up at the end of it. But there's what has to happen in the arena? What has to happen in the arena? Everybody's got to be on that page of you're tired, I'm tired. Let's go. The band here, the analogy is, okay, the guitar player's tired, bass player's got to step up. The best thing, honestly, I can say it, that happened to me at Denver doing 2 and 3 a day was Boyd Paul Hamus. Hamus. I don't know how he did it. I was always amazed. I always tell people, you've never seen the Boyd Paul Hamus in the 18th performance on a Thursday afternoon say to me, hey, Flint, what's your favorite song? And when we go on for like 12 calf ropers. So point being.
Yeah.
Yeah. You all got to, it's team. It really becomes a team thing there.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's funny you brought up Denver. So the other day we were talking about, I've literally known you my whole life. And Brad Narducci and I were getting emotional the other day whenever you announced your retirement and we just about the impact you've had. And I go, man, I've got some Flint stories from when I was a little kid and you were still rodeoing. And you talked about Denver. The first time I ever got in trouble with the police was because of you and John Brogan and Eddie
Not just me.
Yes. And with John Brogan and Eddie Hatfield, because you used to be parked in the warm-up arena. Do you remember this?
Oh, yeah. My little trailer was in the warm-up arena,
Yeah.
and John Brogan had his against the wall, and then Eddie's was out in the parking lot by my motorhome. Yeah.
Exactly. So you guys, there was 2 or 3 day perfs, and Susan Canode always kept a beer in her office, and you're like, and I'm like 11, FYI. You're like, hey, and Dad, for some reason, was a very strict man, but he let me hang out with you guys.
Weird.
So any chance I got, I would come hang out with you guys because I just was like, this 11-year-old kid listening to all these grown legends and future goats talk about just everything. And you're like, go get us some beer, Anthony. And
That was
I don't know
after
if
a
you were
show.
joking.
It was after a performance, like at night.
Okay. More
Yeah,
than
I think.
more than likely. Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm sure
yeah.
it was at night. Anyways, I think you were just setting me up. And so I go and get like 3 beers and I put them in a plastic bag, and there, there's cops right there checking credentials. And I hear, son, come back over here. I look over and there's a cop, and he's got his cop face on. And yes, sir. What are you doing with that beer? I said, I'm taking it to and I didn't want to throw you guys on the bus. I was like, to some friends. And he's like, are they over the age of 21? I go, oh yeah. And then he gets this concerned look on his face. Why is this 11-year-old kid taking beer to a bunch of grown men? And he goes, we have a name for what you're doing. And like, what? Like, I'm thinking, like, we're in the rodeo. Like, you've seen me every day for the last 2 weeks. Like, you know who I am. And he's like, what you're doing is called muling, and it's wrong. You need to, when you take this, you need to let those guys know that you're done working for them.
Oh,
Okay,
working for
Yeah,
us.
I was working for you guys now. And so I remember, I'll never forget, like, I'm nervous. I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to jail. I bring the beer to you guys, and you guys let me have a sip of my first beer.
Yeah. Well, and people should know.
And I didn't.
People should know you were working Denver. And that's the first time, one of the first times I met you, because your dad, Tommy, had whiplash the cowboy monkey. Let's just get that clear.
Uh-huh.
So we pretty much tortured you every day that you were doing bad things with this monkey. That was the running joke every day. And you just kept coming back.
Analogies. What can I say? I'm a glutton for punishment, I guess. But no, do you also remember the time at Brawley, California? If we're going to reminisce.
Brawley,
this was so long ago.
That was that was the first time I met you. And I sat at a dinner with you the night before the rodeo started, and met you and your dad at a committee function. Yeah, I remember that.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And you used to do your Jerry. See, all these people, I hope that so I love what you've done with the PBR, but I'm going to say I don't think a lot of people have forgotten, but people need to remember the baddie that you were in a rodeo arena when you had 2.5 hours and you were rocking and rolling, and you had your actual acts, because you had the Jerry Lee Lewis, the Great Balls of Fire piano act, that to this day is one of the best acts that's ever been. And I'm not just pandering. But you used to wear brown pants for that. And I'll never forget, Dad, we were watching the act, and of course I'm just loving it. And Dad goes, that boy needs to wear white pants. His legs are blending in. People need to see what his legs are doing. And you came out of the arena and he told you that. And my dad, Hall of Famer and obviously well respected in our industry. And then the next week, I don't remember where it was, but then we saw that you had on white pants. And I mean, to this day, even you wear bright shoes and everything like that. People had to see yeah.
You know what's weird about
Pretty
that?
neat.
I remember I'd gone to a vintage store or a secondhand store, and those pants, they would not fit me now, but they were a boot cut, light brown. They had little black pinstripes in them, and they were Wrangler pants. And I thought they were the coolest ever. And I wore them with a tux coat. And I'll never forget. I came out of the arena and I was sweating and I was changing back, and your dad walked. He said, that was really great. I said, well, thanks. He goes, you gotta wear different pants. I'll never forget that. And he said, people need to see. And I did. From that point forward, I wore some sort of bright pants, whether they were, and I had forgotten about that changed the way it takes people like that. And I hope young guys now understand that there are guys that will step up and make say, hey, can I suggest this? And we really just want the best, for that next guy. And that was your dad, no matter what, even when I can say, and then we'll change the subject. I don't know that I've ever had my ass chewed as bad as old Tommy Lucia did for making faces at his monkey. That monkey, the story, that monkey was eating his cracker waiting to go in the arena at Denver, and he'd look up at me and you remember how he'd go,
Yes.
you'd eat, and your dad would shake his hand, and he's doing this, and I'm just leaning on the fence, and I'm tired, and he goes, remember he'd do the hissing thing? Yeah. And he did it like 3 times.
Yes, I do.
And I keep looking at him, and he finally goes, and I went, so we're having this face deal. And your dad was so mad at me. He still loved me. Well, I know he still loved me, but
he did. He did indeed. But no, Dad was always so like, those monkeys are so God, talking about monkey talk with you. This is bring back memories. They're so irritable. Like when they'll hiss, but then if you get them riled up, then they scream like another pitch level. And Whiplash would do that, where he would kind of ooh, ooh. And then if you like got him pissed or scared him or startled him, or he wanted to bow up to you, then he would just, I mean, that's what they do like in the wild. And so I guarantee you, Dad was just mad that you made the monkey scream.
He did though. He said, you can't get these animals riled up, man. You can't do that. I'm like,
right.
I made a face back.
Dad used to carry the cane. Do you remember the cane that he carried? And he would like legitimately like poke at people to keep them back. Like, stay away from my monkey.
I do remember.
God.
Still the greatest was when the dog would come back with the monkey, and your dad was an intimidating man, but my best moment when he had Whiplash was he'd reach down and shake his hand. Remember? And I'd watch that every time, because instantly old grouchy Tommy Lucia would become this guy that was shaking hands with a monkey. You know what? But it was just this. I do it every time. I go, look at him, because anyway, he was an intimidating man. No, but Dad. What he created in you, and kind of what I wanted our conversation today to be about, is he gave you the opportunity to see rodeo a little bit like my dad did, to see rodeo from a different perspective than anyone else did. And then as your career went, you have seen it from the contract act side. You've seen it from the rodeo clown side, because that's what your dad was. And then your brother, Tommy Joe, was contestants. I think you bring that in your TV stuff and your announcing, right? You can look at everything from different angles. Yeah.
And I've always thought that gave me, my dad never announced rodeos, right? But whenever he passed away, I was kind of heavily in doing broadcasting with Ride TV and the PBR and stuff. But it was one of those things where the different sides, I think it gives me more empathy. It not only obviously gives me more knowledge, but it gives me more empathy to what being a contestant, to what they're going through in that the few seconds that they're in an arena. Being able to work with a clown, I can feel if he's starting to flutter or step or kind of get off, I can jump in there and save him or whatever. And with acts, especially, I love working acts, because growing up, I mean, that's how I started announcing, was literally announcing my dad's acts. And so I love doing specialty acts. But more than that, I've literally been a fan of rodeo my entire life. Like, I don't ever remember a time where I was just like, rodeo's boring. I didn't leave. I didn't come back. I didn't get soured by it and then miss it and then come back. I've always loved rodeo. And as a fan, I also can see rodeo from a fan's perspective. And being an entertainer is in my blood. And I was taught by the same way my dad could see that you needed to wear white pants. He had a knowledge about him about how to make people and bring joy. It's what you've done. I mean, and I feel like this has been a Stroke You podcast, but that's a great name for a podcast, by the way.
I'm here to stroke you with your host, like Anthony Lucia. Yeah.
Like strokes, like golf strokes.
Yeah, right.
But being a fan and then understanding if I was sitting watching this rodeo, what would I want to see? What do I want to know? And that doesn't always nail it. Or if I'm doing television, I don't always nail it. I have whiffs every time I pick up a microphone. But because I'm a fan, and because I love it, and because I've been in all these different things, I'm never going to stop trying to be better. And I think that's what is helping me progress in this business.
In the sport of rodeo, I think, and this is just because of most of them, that's all they've done. I don't know that there are all that many contestants that understand what we are trying to accomplish, looking in the eyes of fans and what fans really are there to see and what pays the bills and what it's hard to explain. A contestant will have a whole different perspective.
Yeah.
However, as an announcer, even a TV guy, you do got to stroke them a little bit. I know we're using that term,
yeah.
but as a contestant, kind of how the rodeo should feel to you, but we know in production how it should feel to those people.
Exactly.
Exactly. I think a few years ago when a few of them broke off and did some rodeos and the ERA thing or whatever, I think there was a lesson in going, wait a minute, we don't just run in the stock and do a rodeo, like, right? For one, everybody has
Absolutely.
to get paid. It was a learning experience, probably a positive from that.
Oh, I absolutely think it was. And I think especially that core group that was kind of behind it. I think it was a huge learning experience. And, Bobby's still doing stuff with WCRA and everything like that. And then all those competitors that were involved, that they've all come back and won more world titles in pro rodeo. And I think they came back with more of a gracious mindset, going, holy cow, thank you, committees. Thank you, stock contractors. I don't know, maybe not going to go that far, but it dang sure did give them a more of a grateful perspective, because there's a lot to go to do what you do, to do what I do, to put on a rodeo. Like, it's incredible the amount of work that goes on, weeks, months, years before a latch even cracks at a rodeo, at a PBR. It's not just we roll in the week of and we set up. It's like how much planning went in to not only the setup, what Jerome used to do and where to pin the bulls, and just it's incredible.
I made a note, so I'll tell you when it really dawned on me, the knowledge of production or lack of knowledge, was during COVID. But during COVID, when rodeos were making the decisions months ahead to cancel their rodeos, and rodeo contestants were going, aren't you a little soon here? I mean, we're 3 months from this rodeo. Are you telling us you got to make the decision now? And I'd go, yeah. Where's the money coming from? There. And all of those, not that it was the right thing to do in society, but with what they were being forced to do, most of them were the right decisions. Just with bigger picture, we know different things now. But it really made me go, you really don't understand that they do this. Like, the people in Denver right now, as we're doing this, are working on next year, have it laid out. And I don't, it's funny that it's, somebody said, why can't we do rodeos here? I've had different cowboys say that to me, and I've gone, go do one. And I'm not being a smart ass here. Yeah. Go do one. And then report back to the tent.
Yeah, exactly. No, I mean, I think it would be great if more players, more contestants understood that side of it. But on the same token, it's like, would it enhance us as a group? I think yes. But at the end of the day, it's like, as long as we still have continued players entering and spending money and spending $150,000 on rigs, buying $200,000 horses, and are willing to foot the bill to do this and play this game, that's fine.
Yeah,
keep coming, because we need you.
before somebody watches this and goes, oh, Flint was bashing contestants, whatever. Let me be clear. There's a lot of stuff goes on with contestants that I wouldn't do and don't understand either.
Oh,
I want to be clear on
absolutely.
that. We're presenting one side. Speaking of that and fans perspective, what we do for fans, and the big rodeos, the Denvers and Fort Worths and San Antonios and Houstons. There's been in the last few years, rodeo's too complicated. We need to change it up. We need to make it a winner every day. I'm a rodeo person and I don't always understand what's going on. Cheyenne has done it. And maybe that's just maybe I'm, get off my lawn guy. But I don't always understand bracket 1, series 3, per 4. He wins, he moves on. Do the fans know? Or here's the question. Do the fans like it? Do they understand it? Or do they even care? They're just there to watch a rodeo.
I think a little bit of both, to be completely honest. It's the tournament styles, when the people explain them, they've overcomplicated it so much. Because if you were to say, okay, how does it work at San Antonio? The top 4 money winners in each of the 5 brackets move on to the semifinals. And then if you continue to win a lot of money, it's all about money won at all of them. At Fort Worth is the same way. It's a little bit different at Fort Worth because their wild card it just works different. They do more of an at-large, and they do a couple different things, but it's simple. You win money. You win the most money. And I will take credit, or not credit, I will take the blame. And as representing all announcers, we're not doing a good enough job explaining it. I think they do an incredible job at Houston explaining it because they have really good videos, and they slow down just for a second to make sure that people understand. So if you do care, because here's the thing, you can either care or not care. Either way, it doesn't matter. If you care about how they move on, great. If you don't care, also great. Just you bought a ticket, doesn't matter. But I do really like the tournament style. We were talking about it last night because there's, in San Antonio, 5 brackets. Every competitor gets 3 chances. So it's a one-header every time. What does that mean? That means they're going to, every time a cowboy backs in there, he's not going, I just need to go catch this one to stay in the average or whatever. They're trying to go fast. And the team roping last at a 4-1 was 4th. Like, it was incredible. And the barrel racing, they're going, I mean, it's just it makes for such a good show where the days of just catch this one or ride this one to stay good in the average are over at the big rodeos. And it's awesome.
Yeah, I think, and
again, from a fan's perspective.
And I think at those rodeos that are 25 performances or whatever, you do it because you get confused I remember being at Denver, he's 9.4, but he went out of the average on and he's this on his first one. There was a lot. Yeah. So when I say it, it's just new to me. And keep something in mind. I have not been out there rodeoing since all this started. So, but I have been, I did go to Calgary for a lot of years. And the one thing it did was that's a little different too. 2 groups go at it every day. Yeah. Money moves on. It was pretty easy. They had a winner every day. So the 20,000 people in Calgary, 16,000 of them that had never seen rodeo, they know that on Tuesday afternoon, when the rodeo ends, and they'd present them all with Brun, they win. They win. Yep. That's it. So I guess, get off my lawn. Yeah. Get off my lawn, man.
But no, I think it's good. And now the one thing I will say is some rodeos aren't ready or shouldn't be tournament styles because they don't have enough money added. And now I'm sounding like this is the competitor side of me coming out. They don't have enough money added. You have to have over $1 million to make it all. I mean, like Fort Worth is 1.2, San Antonio was 1.4, Denver 500,000.
Right. And that was
not
actually, you brought it up, but I was going to bring it up. Denver, that we love.
Yeah.
We love, the
Yeah.
people in
Love
charge.
Denver. Love,
But
yeah.
what you're doing is spreading. Everybody wins a little, and nobody wins that significant amount to really boost your winter. The winner at Denver, there was guys stepping up going, I won more in 1986,
Yeah.
So you're correct. And it's an industry thing. I don't know.
My brother helps produce, Tommy Joe helps produce Denver. Like I'm invested in Denver. Love that place. It's just, Denver was confusing because they paid one first round, one second round, but then you had to progress out of your performances, but you didn't get paid for progressing out of your performances. So like I had some team buddies progressed out of their performances, went all the way to the semifinals, and they won $79 because they placed last in the first round. They split it like 12 different ways.
Yeah.
And they won $79.
Yeah.
And they were 4 trips to Denver from Weatherford, Texas.
And that's going to be the blowback on that is a great rodeo. And I think it happened a little this year. People are going to go, not worth going up to Denver. Let's focus our resources somewhere else. That's what you worry about, anyway, deep stuff, man.
But you know what's going to happen? The one person, for every one person that says they're not going, there's 5 that says, I'm going to Denver.
I'm going to enter
the nature of our game.
It's the nature of our game.
Makes 0 sense. Yeah. It makes 0 sense for less money. Let's rodeo. Okay.
Hey, I remember the first time fuel hit $3 a gallon. I always contend that I was the only rodeo clown ever to work the Pendleton Roundup and brought all of my stuff in a minivan because gas was $3 a gallon. And every time fuel goes up, everybody's going, what's going to happen to the rodeo business? Oof. Cowboys are always broke anyway. They don't know. Like,
right.
Well, who was it? Was it you and me?
I think it's
during COVID when there was no rodeos. The big joke was Cowboys are doing better financially this year than they've ever done in their lives because they can't go to any rodeo.
I know I said that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know I said that a lot. I was like, these Cowboys, the first time they've actually had money. And it's awesome. Like that lifestyle that they're willing to live because they love it so much. And that's one of the reasons that another one of the many reasons I'm such a fan of professional rodeo, for that very reason, that you have people literally willing to spend their life savings to chase a dream, to live their dream, to travel the country and get little sleep and spend more than you'll ever make. And they do it and they love it. And it's beautiful.
And crazy. It's crazy and it's beautiful and crazy. Speaking of intimidating people, you just mentioned him in a sentence and rolled by it. Your dad was an intimidating figure just because he was straightforward. Your brother, Tommy Joe, he knows what he's doing. That guy. He used to, there was a time he produced our shows. He was kind of my boss at the PBR, and we'd have production meetings, and he'd say, all right, Flint, what's happening in this city? What's going on? Look into that. It brings something. He really, he's intimidating in a way that, and it's in your family. He makes people step up. If you're going to work here and you're going to work for me, we're doing it this way. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. No, Tommy Joe has been huge influence on my life. My dad taught me how to entertain, trick roping and all that stuff, and watching him. And then when he passed away, it was kind of that weird place in my career where I had 2 years removed from trick roping, the national finals, rodeo, wanting to get more into announcing, trying to get more into announcing. The TV stuff, the broadcasting stuff with Ride TV is really starting to pick up. I was broadcasting barrel racing world championships, the Rodeos Downs futurities and rainbow derbies and all that stuff. And then whenever I really started to announce more and more, Tommy Joe, really, his brain, you want to talk about beautiful and crazy, his brain, and how, like you just said, how not only does he see production, but what he can bring from the people around him. And he has been such a huge influence on my career, through the butt chewings, through the encouragement, through telling me that I suck, to telling me that I'm going to be the best ever. Tommy Joe is just, and he is terrifying. We had our first, holy cow, Salt Lake last year. I'm doing this. He created this amazing finale where he brought out this lady. She was on this beautiful white horse, all LED lights, and it's dark in an outdoor pen, which nobody ever goes dark in outdoor pen, but Tommy Joe does. And Brad Narducci found music, and I wrote this script, and it was about talking about patriotism. And of course, obviously at Salt Lake, they're celebrating the pioneers of the olden days that settled the valley and all that. And we're reading this. Well, right after that, I sell it, kind of subtly sell it, and then take your eyes skyward as we light up with this, whatever I say. And apparently they weren't ready to shoot fireworks. So I'm climbing, I'm about to crescendo, about to make these people just explode in their seats with this amazing sell. And I go, blah, 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 blah. Now take your eyes skyward as we light up the sky with the pioneer pride. And this Tommy Joe rips his headset off, and I know you've seen it. And I think I just freaking hung the moon, and I just reinvented how we did rodeo. And he rips his, do you not listen? And I'm like, what? I told you to wait. When did you tell me to? Anyways, so I get mad because honest to God, I've never in my life have bowed up. I bowed up to my dad one time, and it was, my dad used to get a little physical with us. And when I turned 18, I was done with it. And he was walking to me, and he was going to do whatever. And I met him halfway, and I said, if you're going to do this, it's going to be the last thing you do. And I like it had gotten to that point. Well, I've never bowed up to Tommy Joe in my life. And I've been scared of Tommy Joe, not scared, but like respect, intimidating. That's the right word. And that night he was doing this in my chest, and I just stood there, and I'm a little bit taller than Tommy Joe. And he's looking up at me, and I'm like, in my brain, everything in my body is saying, run, just be done with this. Say you're sorry, Anthony, get out of this. And I was mad, and he was mad. And I'm like, because he was telling me to stretch. I did not hear it. I was zoned in. I was focused, did not hear it. Everybody knew that I was supposed to stretch rather. But me. Everyone in there. Yes. Yeah. But I never saw it. Apparently he did that. Never saw it. And then he's getting mad at me because I didn't do it. And it all worked out fine because Brad covered with a little bit of music. 30 seconds later, fireworks go off. But Tommy Joe wants his shows tight. He wants them where it's like it's a beautiful script. It's a flowing production. I mean, you've worked with them countless times, but so after we get done yelling at each other, and again, I've never yelled at Tommy Joe. Like my adrenaline and my anger comes down, and then all of a sudden it's sheer panic. Like I'm going to get fired. I'm going to get fired by my brother. This is going to be the worst thing in the world. And so I go in there to his office, and this is how awesome my brother is. I've made an ass out of myself by yelling at my boss in front of God and everybody at our front of house. I walk in there, and before I can get out of my mouth, he goes, "I'm sorry, Anthony." What? I said, no, I'm sorry. You don't have any reason to be sorry. I'm sorry. He goes, no, I should have made sure that you knew, or put my hand on you whenever I knew you were going to sell. I should have done better, had Brandon pick it up, and that was my bad. And I'm like, so in that moment, and then of course, then I'm crying because I'm such an emotional. I love my brother so much, and I'm so emotional anyways. I hugged him and because that was such a big moment in my life, because it showed me what an actual leader does. Mm-hmm. What an actual person that will go, okay, team, let's go. get on my back. We're charging Normandy. And even though what we do doesn't compare to big, wars or battles or anything like that, it still matters to a lot of people. And there's a lot of pressure within it. And Tommy Joe just, I don't know. I can't say enough good things about him. I love him.
Yeah, you're right. Intimidating, but always he has said more kind words to me in his little way. Then that's when you know it means something. Guys like I always say, guys like Tommy Joe Lucia, Cody Lambert. You can hear all the nice stuff in the world, but when it comes from people like that, then you know. So
absolutely.
You brought something up the other day. You brought something up the other day to me, an incident that I forgot about. And earlier you mentioned, why did my dad let me hang out with you guys in Denver? I forgot that in Woodlake, California, Joe Bumgardner and I loaded up and went and did the PBR in Bakersfield at night, back when I could do 2 performances a day. What the hell was your old man thinking going, go ahead and go to Bakersfield with Joe and Flint? I forgot about that. I forgot you went with us. It was like an hour and a half drive. And yeah.
Well, Tommy Joe was producing it. And then I think my brother Josh might have been on the tour at that time too, helping, doing signs and stuff with Jinx and that whole crew. So Dad was super protective of me. But man, with you guys, for some reason, like, he just admired y'all so much that, go ahead. And I think I was probably 13 or 14 at that time, maybe a little older.
No, hey, you were, you know how I know how old you were? You were 13 or 14 because you babysat my daughter Shelby in our motorhome.
Yeah.
She was maybe a year old. She was a year old, and she is now going to be 24. So that makes sense. Yep, there you go. So anyway.
Yeah. Well, Dad let me go down there with y'all, and I'll never forget, and I was such an awkward, growing up with a monkey, homeschooled, I was just so weird.
Let's go through the categories. You were a rodeo kid, homeschooled, and grew up with a monkey. Yeah, you were a little messed up. You were a little awkward.
I was very awkward. I know for a fact I was. And I didn't know I didn't have really an identity. I was Tommy Lucia's son. And anytime you're from a quote unquote rodeo famous family, everybody knows Tommy Joe, everybody knows Dad. And then there's this weird little chubby kid, whatever. But the reason I'm saying this is because Joe gave me a Mossy Oak vest. And at the time, Mossy Oak, big time sponsor of the PBR. There was the Mossy Oak Riders, there was Mossy Oak Mudslinger, and he gave me a bullfighting. It said bullfighter on it, and he gave me this vest. And when I put this vest on, I felt like it was like I just put on the cloak of strength, because it made me feel like I was the coolest son of a gun that ever stepped foot inside of a PBR. And when I walked down in there, I don't know why you guys were so nice to me, but y'all were, and it was still just makes me smile.
And if my prediction is correct, because you rode about 3 hours in a car with Joe Bumgardner, you then had the F word perfected. I remember.
Yes. So Dad would cuss a lot. Dad would say shit. He would say damn like it was another word, but he never said the F word.
Yeah.
And so that's probably why Joe gave me the vest, because he could see that I was emotionally scarred from hearing him say the F word so much. Here, son, this will make you feel better. But every time I still see Joe at the South Point and stuff, God, makes me laugh. I love that guy.
Joe's the only guy that was allowed to say the F word in front of my mom, because she just gave up. Whatever.
Some battles just aren't worth fighting.
Just let it go. But yeah, I always tell people, my claim to fame is with Anthony, and people talk about it. I say he babysat Shelby, and Shelby now is doing well, successful and doing great. And I'll never forget, we had a little motorhome. Paige wasn't even born yet. And we went to a little committee dinner And you said, I'll hang out with Shelb. And she just loved you, just, and we go in the motorhome and you're playing with her. And anyway, I always say, Anthony, by the way, Joe Bumgartner babysat my girls one time too. So
I believe that.
You're right in there. But
in the rodeo world, that's what we do.
It is. It is. Keep being an influence. I think we need, that's where the rodeo world and this Western sports world has changed. I think we used to get away with every person does their job. And yes, it's a team, but a rodeo announcer is a rodeo announcer, a clown's a clown. But with the way our culture and our society is moving so far away from this lifestyle, I think we now need people to influence and be influential in preserving and promoting that. And I think the way you describe, if I describe you, is Anthony Lucia a rodeo announcer? No. Is he? No. You're influential in our world, and that's what you need to keep doing. And let's work together and be those people. That's what we have to do, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And just for all the committees who are listening, I am a rodeo announcer. So, Flint,
and I'll come cheaper than anybody.
No, bull crap.
No, I'm joking. Yes, you are a rodeo announcer. But when I think of you, you know that.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think that as our business and just like you changed the game of what a rodeo clown is and what can be expected from a clown / entertainer / barrel man to what you've made it into. And even now with myself and Gary Yergin and the younger guys that are coming up, we can be more than just rodeo announcers. Our influence and our impact on a sport isn't just for the 2.5 hours that we're standing in front of the rodeo fans talking through social media, through television, through YouTube and internets and podcasts and what the internet's. Wow, I sound like I'm 80 years old. The internet's a series of tubes and wires. But there's so many different outlets now that, like you said, we can be influencers and we can impact and grow our industry and educate and entertain through all these different outlets that are really, it's important because we've got to do it. Everybody else is doing it. We've got to do it big. And so that's, I appreciate you saying that because that's the path that we're all on.
Agree. Keep doing it, man. Got it?
You keep doing
it. Let's keep doing it.
Number 1 and number 2, baby. Remember? Last story. Yeah. And I know you got to go. But when I had my talk show in live with Lucia, it's in Las Vegas, and Flint's the one who inspired me about it to do it. And I didn't think it would be successful, and it did actually. It's still not quite as big as Flint's, but either way, I asked Flint because I was going to be on Ride Pass. I go, Flint, will you write like something, like a quote that we can use on, to promote Live with Lucia? And Flint, well, I don't remember the exact verbiage, but when Julia sent back what you'd written, I was like, we can't use this. She said, we have to use this. Flint just said, you're number 2, but it was basically like Anthony Lucia, known him his whole life, great guy, has the second best talk show in Las Vegas.
He must be so proud to have the second best talk show, something like that.
Yes. And I was like, oh my God. But then I got to thinking, I was like, wait a second, I'll be number 2 to Flint. Absolutely. That's a W in my book. Like, let's go.
I forgot about that too. That's funny. I did that on purpose. Listen, I appreciate you. I appreciate you, man. Thanks for
thank you.
Always being a good friend and your family, and say hi to your wife and everybody. And I appreciate you, buddy.
I will. And one final thought from Anthony. Thank you for being you. And thank you for always raising the bar in entertainment. And you've changed the game more than, and I'm not going to get all sentimental, but you've changed the game. And I respect what you've done. I respect who you are, who you've grown into being. And you've always been the same guy to me since the time I was cleaning up monkey crap to now. And that means a lot. And everybody, we've all made our blunders in life, but you've always been a light in mine. And I appreciate that.
We'll keep doing it, man. It's what we do. In the words of you.
Yep.
It's what we do. Thanks, buddy.
It's what we do. Okay.